So, edge of your seat, Glenn, like everybody else last night?
Barney, this is why we love sports, isn't it? I mean, Game 7, I could watch a Game 7 of lawn bowling.
Yes.
Really, it just, you know what I mean?
I have.
Yeah, exactly. Of
Anything
bocce
with sprinkling.
ball or something.
Yeah.
No, it's the tension. I am far from a baseball expert, but the tension, the strategy. You wondered, and people were weighing in on who was the player of the game, and of course Springer with the big hit is the obvious choice. But to me, it was the manager. I don't even know the dude, but to me, this team has they got out coached, the Mariners, from watching Game 7. Just the pitching rotation, getting ahead of those guys when they when they felt like their starting pitcher or whomever it was in the order was just a little bit off. They didn't hesitate. They made the change. I was listening to Buck Martinez say, this is their starters. These guys that are coming up aren't bullpen guys.
Yeah.
And he goes, but they're putting it all on the line right here to win this game. And meanwhile, the Mariners, again, I'm preface that I am not a baseball expert. But I'm watching. Who was the pitcher for the Mariners? Wu, was it? Is his name Wu?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's on the mound, and you could just see in his face before he walked the first Blue Jay, you could see in his face it wasn't like there was something wrong. He had lost his confidence or something. He was looking at the sky. And I thought, and I turned to my wife. First baseball game I've watched in, I don't know, maybe 10 years.
What about your wife? That's what I was doing. Can you believe we're sitting here watching baseball together?
Yes. And she goes, I don't like that guy with the long hair. I don't think he's very good. Anyway, I turn to her and I say, they got to get that pitcher out. He doesn't look like he's got any confidence left. And they do, and that's when Springer hits the home run off the guy that comes off the bench or out of the bullpen. So, the Game 7 excitement, outstanding, Barney. And, you guys were also talking about what's more exciting, in Game 7 in baseball or Game 7 in hockey. For me, it's a no-brainer between those two. Hockey wins because of the physicality in hockey. I absolutely love when a team starts to turn that up.
I'm glad you said that, because recency bias right now, you'd be like, oh, baseball. Like that was just but then we fast forward things to when we get to the Stanley Cup final, and if you're an Oilers fan, you've been living it too, where like that sudden death in hockey is something else. But you being a football guy, do you prefer the one game showdown kind of for a championship or a chance to go to a championship?
Yeah, you have to in football, because if you played some kind of series, and there used to be back in the day, you just take too long, right? It would be because you have to recover for a full week after a football game, and basically that would be impossible. But they did have 2-game best total points series back 100 years ago, so that it's not completely foreign to football. But no, I love the sudden death aspect. I would, on a sort of an outside of that survey, I would also put in the final 3 minutes of a CFL playoff game, and a one possession game when you're up by 4. And you have to make every throw, and you have to make every catch, and to come back and win, and then your kicker has to come out and possibly win it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just to bring up another angle in the Saskatchewan discussion.
Yeah, we can get to that in a bit. Yeah, and I think too, as a golfer, a major coming down to the 18th hole, and I think everybody, most of us have golfed. Imagine that pressure and the shakes, and like you're not allowed to drink. Like, how do you get rid of that? Like that is so much pressure. Yeah, it's exciting, and now they get to take on, the big bad Los Angeles Dodgers. So
I'll watch. I like I said, I had trouble watching my kid play baseball, and I was the coach for a while. So it was difficult to watch that, but I'm going to watch every game. I will watch every game of this series. I'll tape them because, in fact, they're going to conflict with some of our games this weekend because they start on Friday, play Friday, Saturday. So hopefully people will PVR. Is that what we're calling it now? No, it's beyond that. Something else.
Sure.
Tape it anyway. Yeah. Tape it. Tape the football game and watch it later.
I think PVR still stands. I think like recording it would be dating ourselves, but yeah, PVR is good. Okay, let's get into football here. I want to play this clip from Coach Mace today, and I just want you to listen to both of these, maybe the first one, and then I'll play the second one, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, so first off today, he's asked if there was a plan to play more starters this week.
Yeah, definitely. We got a plan in place, and similar to last week, we identified what we want to do, and we stuck to it, man. So we got a different one set in place this week, and we'll stick to that.
Okay, so that's the first one, and then Coach Mace, what is the importance of getting the number ones some reps?
Yeah, no, it's just being able to keep the guys around the game, and you can't mimic live reps, you know what I mean? So I think it's crucial, for our guys to be able to go out there and do that. But at the same time, you got to make sure that you're putting the vision on for the future, but also trying to maintain the balance of having the right guys on the roster to still go win a game.
Talk about holding your cards right in that chest vest region. You get to interview these guys. You get to preview for Tuesday. Where does Coach Mace land in not giving you really anything?
Well, first of all, both of those answers, he could run for office. I mean, he could run for some apolitical party, whatever he wants, with those kind of answers and saying nothing, but I like the answer like that. We talk to them before every game that we do, and he's quite open, but a lot of that is under sort of lock and key
embargo
until, until we kick it off, because we have to know what the roster changes are so we can be ready for intros and player profiles and things like that. So that's more for our tape department and things like that. So yeah, we get a lot of that inside info, but it's only like 2 days before. So on a Friday night game, we'll get it. We'll have our Zoom call on Wednesday, and he'll give us, and then there'll be 2 or 3 players where he said will be game time, and he'll tell us that way as well. So,
what?
But Barney, I said it before last game, and I'll repeat it. It's not worth the risk to put Trevor out there in this game when they can't advance any further in the playoffs. The Lions are going to go with their guys because they want home field. They win, they get home field. But if you put Trevor out there in harm's way, he won't play conservatively. He won't try to protect himself. He's going to go and play to win the game if he's dressed and out there. And last week, I said, but you can't go beyond Jake Mayer as well, because you're not in tryout time, right? And I thought when Jack Cohn came out, and listen, I think Jack might be one of the future stars in the league. He might join Nathan Rourke and Davis Alexander in Montreal and be one of the great young guns in the game as we make this transition. But this is a playoff run, not a tryout opportunity to see what you got in a guy that's third on the depth chart or whatever. And I thought the game changed there. I think if Jake Mayer stays out there, I mean, anything can happen, of course, but I think if Jake Mayer stays out there and Brett Lowther hits that 4th field goal, they win that game.
It was just an odd time. Now, again, I don't know. Maybe whatever the plan is for this weekend's game with BC, in my brain, as I'm looking at it, I'm like, you want to get Cone some playing time, play him against BC at home. Let Mayer run the table in that game in Winnipeg. And then so for the fourth quarter, it just seemed very odd. It was almost like there was something else to it that we were missing, but it doesn't look like there was. And maybe it's not that big of a deal, and I know I get it. So you got to be ready to play. Everyone's got to be ready. You got to throw them into the... Yeah, you do, but you're also putting a guy in. The weather was crap. It was kind of cold. You're putting a guy in, and if it's to test them, and you see that with businesses once in a while. Well, let's test these guys. Let's test these sales guys. Let's test it. Why? Don't overthink it. Yeah, so I don't get the timing, where it was. Now, there's people messaging in, Glenn, and they're saying they want Harris to play this weekend. I'm looking. Justin messaged in, Steve, Trevor, Julie, let him play a little bit. And I'm like, no. The professor was in. Professor says you got to play him a little bit. You know, I'd play him. I'd give him a little time. Not risking the rust thing. I feel, I don't know where you land. I'll ask you. Too much can be made. There might be a little bit of, you got to warm up a bit, but you're practicing. It's not like you're taking 2 weeks off and then it's like, hey, welcome back. The game's on, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you are practicing and you're taking mental reps and you're in the meetings and you're still running the quarterback room if you're Trevor Harris. You know, how many snaps has Trevor Harris taken in his career? If this next week to play a one quarter and go out there for 2 series, if he really needs that to perform well in the Western Final, then you got the wrong guy.
Yep.
And I don't think you got the wrong guy. So he's taken 1,000 reps in his career. He doesn't need 2 quarters or whatever. I mean, even if you look back at the Edmonton-Vancouver game last week, you know, I thought with the Lions coming off the bye, they looked a little rusty in the first quarter offensively. Their timing was a little bit off. And then they got it together, and then it looked like the offense we're used to seeing. And yeah, it took 2 or 3 series to get on the right page and to get, you know, the targeting sensor in place for Nathan Rourke. But, you know, I would rather have 2 series that don't quite go as smoothly as you'd like in the West Final, rather than throw them out there for a quarter in a game that doesn't change anything and put them in harm's way. Plus, you're taking reps away from Jake Mayer. And I honestly, as far as your second part of the question, I don't go with Jack Cone. Jack Cone is the third stringer future guy, possibly, but he's not essential in this playoff run. We don't have to test him, to your point. We don't have to see what he looks like in a game against the Lions in the last week of the regular season. We don't have to see that. What you need to see is that Jake Mayer is ready to win a game in case something happened to Trevor early in the playoff game. So I think every rep for him is crucially valuable for Jake Mayer, but not Cone. Now you're thinking preseason mode, and that's not what this is.
There's the other element to this, and I'm not a psychologist or any kind of doctor or anything, that you have to almost, I think, take into consideration that West Final in a packed Mosaic Stadium, and you haven't played in 2.5 or 3 weeks a game. You've been throwing the ball. You've been practicing. You've been taking the mental reps. There's the element of the adrenaline as an athlete in that 30,000 people on that stage that should get you right into the game right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And here's another, sort of, I don't know, maybe it's a great secret with professional athletes. Games like this are ultra challenging because you don't want to get hurt. And you are fighting mentally to to not think that way.
Yeah.
So you're trying to train your mind to not think, treat it like any other game, go out and play with great intensity. But in the back of your mind, and it's a fight, you're thinking, don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. Because you don't want to have a bit of an ankle going into the Western final. So you're almost subconsciously protecting yourself at times. And I think that's a recipe for disaster, and the coach can mitigate that by taking AJ Ouellette out. I see that Mario Anderson was not practicing today, so I saw 7 starters not practicing today. So good chance that none of those guys start anyway.
Yeah, there was a number of, if you're watching the stream, there it is up right there. Anderson did not participate. Fields did not participate, as Keyshawn Johnson, Dante Myers, Milligan Jr., Shane Ray Robustelli, Sales, Tommy Stevens still with the knee, and Nick Weeb. That's the other thing, is that Tommy Stevens, if he's, let's say he was close to 100, let's say he was 80, 85 right now, I would like to see him out there slinging it. Because when we talked to him back when we signed him back in the winter, he's like, I can throw the ball. He did play at some big schools. That's too bad that we don't get to see him do that. To your point, Glenn, and you watch it a lot closer than anybody, and you're there. I noticed it on the first couple special teams plays on Friday, where there were guys running down making some business decisions. It was almost like watching when they used to have the Pro Bowl. It's like, whoa, whoa, get away from me here. And then there's the other guy that's going full torque, which, to your point, you're going to get hurt probably.
Yeah, and you're trying to fight that.
Yeah.
You get it, you understand it, but you're trying to fight it off. And, that's why I think a decision, and I'm sure Corey Mace has already made his decision. He's just being very political about his answers to the media right now, and that's fine. But he's already made his decision. I'm sure he's already told the players, because they need to try to work on this mental fight for the entire week. If you're a starter and you're playing, you have to fight through this to say, okay, I got to somehow lock down my mind to be full speed every play, no matter what, because those business decisions that you talked about, and you see them when it happens, that's when you get hurt. So you can't play this game. It's too physical of a game to play it protecting yourself. Yep. You have to go out, let it on the line.
Okay, Colson's going to throw up this playoff scenario board that we've been running all day on the show. So you see it here. And when the professor is in, and we were talking, there's a lot of things that could happen. Now, mind you, a lot of people are going to say Calgary's going to beat Edmonton, which means BC's going to have to win. Unless Edmonton can beat Calgary, then BC can rest. But look at that top right, Glenn. The top right box. And if you're listening on the radio, I'll explain it. This is the one that I find fascinating. BC loses here. Calgary wins against Edmonton. And Winnipeg wins. BC's got the crossover.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
It is wild. It is absolutely wild. What we know, and this is how I do it for my own sanity, because there's a lot of options on this feed right now and a lot of math to go through. But I look at it this way. The Lions win, they host. So we know that.
But Calgary plays Edmonton on Friday. So what BC is going to know Saturday or Friday night, like their starters can go out to Gobos and Habanos and Regina and get after it. Because if Calgary loses, they're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Calgary loses, they're in if they win. So their number is 1, right? And the other thing is, and this is why I'm wondering about Winnipeg, because does Michael O'Shea, I heard from on social media, so it's got to be true, that Zach Collaros didn't take a lot of reps in the practice today. So does Michael O'Shea say, we're going to rest some of our guys, including Zach, because we're in the playoffs. Who cares where we go?
Yeah.
Who cares who we play?
Yeah.
Right. So I wonder about that decision with the Bombers, and Calgary can still. They have a good chance. Well, not a good chance. They have the second best chance to host, so that they should still pedal to the metal.
For
and
sure.
The Lions definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, the Lions definitely. Yeah.
The Calgary's playing that game on Friday to win, which would lead me to believe that we're going to see BC's best to try and win that, and which I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, more guys banged up. Show us what you got. Maybe pick out a few things. Watch some tape. And I think that's where everything points to. But again, it's football. It's crazy. Speaking of crazy, Ken West is coming down to the end here. And I don't know if you've looked at the schedule and the games that have been playing. Like Saskatchewan's leading. Regina's on their heels. Coming up this weekend, it's a weird 1:00 game. UBC comes to Regina on Friday. It's crapshootville, and then Manitoba Saskatchewan is playing Saturday in Saski. Man, like every game in this is so tight. I know you're a big fan of university football. It could be one of the best kept secrets. And then the other one is junior football in Saskatchewan, where on Sunday we have the Thunder hosting the Saskatoon Hilltops at Mosaic.
Yeah, and that rivalry, by the way, Vincent Donaldson, one of my former teammates, one of the coaches with the Rams, and I saw him in the airport in Calgary a couple of weeks ago when they were just coming off a win, and they were heading into that game against the U of S. And I don't know, Barney, if it's you that owe me the dinner, or if it was Sharky, or it might have been the professor. I can't remember.
I think it's me. Colson's pointing at me.
Okay, I wondered because we did have a little bit of a bet there with the Rams and the Huskies. I do a lot of I do a lot of work with the Huskies for Dog's Breakfast and stuff like that. So I'm cheering them on. I'm looking at the standings all the time. I actually try to get some of that stuff into our show. Like I will highlight guys that have come out of the U of S, come out of the U of R, especially when they're at top of their divisions and top of their, the standings. I will try to work that into a game.
I feel though that you're going to pull a Kenny Banya, and I'm going to take you for this supper, and you're going to order soup, just so you can double back around on it and again.
Banya, the soup is the meal. That's it.
Hey, can you slide that into one of your games this weekend? And then all the Sports Cage people will know. Hey, that was Glenn. That was Glenn from the Sports Cage.
Yeah, the soup is the meal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we get to talk again on Thursday, and then we'll tee up everything this weekend, and we'll go into it more. Enjoy the night off, and we'll catch up on Thursday, Glenn.
Okay. Thanks, Barney. Appreciate it.